This is it. This whole thing. Good to go right here. So up top we see increased supply. Second, we have reduced impact of use. Third, we have increased the durability of the resource. Fourth, we have limit use. Okay? And again, notice that limit use has a lot fewer options. If we are breaking one of our management rules that we put in place for this semester, that is, you can give but you can't take away, limiting use necessarily means that you are taking away opportunities from people. You're tying their hands. You're saying you can do this, but you cannot do that. Okay? Cool. There are a couple of other things to notice on the larger graph here. You'll see along several branches, if you follow them down from that high level, that top level strategy, that sort of that grand approach to how you want to organize your plans and responses, the far end, the distal end, the closest to tactics end is, do I do this particular tactic within this one park unit? That is, for example, within the Mount Desert Island horseshoe-shaped island unit, one of 3 units in Acadia National Park. Do I provide this answer out of this tactic, that is, in this case, provide a compatible activity and concentrate use of that activity and thereby reduce the impact of use? Do I do that at Mount Desert Island unit of Acadia National Park? Or do I push that good and compatible and worth concentrating activity onto some other place, a different unit that might be more ecologically suited to that activity? Sorry about that. Or not. Okay, so this is how we want to think about this particular end of this graph. I know this is a big thing, it's a lot of small text, but I promise you this is the answer for the rest of the semester. And learning to navigate this and sort of explain why you chose the branch all the way down to the specific tactic that you did to answer a management question for this class, it really is the whole shebang. This is again, the answer key for the rest of the semester. All right? So, one thing we want to think about with this is, again, we're mostly going to try to live in the first 3 top-level branches. One of the things that we haven't yet talked about is under reducing impact of use, dispersing or concentrating the use. Okay. So let's say your national park has a trail. And the trail's pretty beat up. And people are starting to get hurt on your trail because it is beat up. Like, it's too rocky, it's too rooty. When the surface of the trail starts to erode away and expose the underlying tree roots and rocks that are otherwise buried in the matrix of the soil, when that trail is wet, those roots are extremely slippery. So injury rates are proportional to cumulative erosion on that trail. There's a tight coupling. People just walking along a perfectly smooth, nice, safe sidewalk are not likely to have a bunch of injuries. Those same people walking an extremely rugged, blown out, eroded trail, very likely to have injuries with even a little bit of ambient moisture on those roots, lowering the coefficient of friction and causing lots of falling injuries. So like broken legs, broken toes, broken hips, right? And now all of a sudden, we are focused on very, very expensive and dangerous for everyone involved search and rescue operations. The moment we turn a rotor on a helicopter, it is reasonably likely that somebody could get hurt or die, right? This is not a great place for helicopters to land on the side of a trail to get folks out if they can't ambulate their way out, okay? It's reasonably likely that one of our rescuers will also slip and fall because the trail conditions are bad as they are trying to get the person out on a Stokes litter, which is like an ambulance backboard, a litter, that has a mountain bike wheel stuck on it. A Stokes litter, right? Now imagine trying to get somebody down off of a rocky and rooty steep trail and they're strapped, like immobilized onto a backboard, and you're slipping and falling just like they were, right? That's how they got into the situation in the first place, right? So erosion, as a sign of damage of poor management of overuse of a trail, the response or the instinct to respond might run along the lines of, okay, well, that trail is busted, it's in terrible shape, and it's costing us a lot of money. Half of our injured is on the DL list, or half of our staff are on the DL list because they hurt themselves trying to get somebody who was hurt out of that trail. Okay, let's close down that trail. It's a problem. And let's just open up a nice new trail. It'd be cheaper to do that than maybe rehab the original trail. The problem is the ecological impacts of the trail existing at all are now double, because we have the old trail that we've stopped using, and now we have another similar trail running maybe from the same start to the same finish, just along a slightly different route, maybe less eroded yet. Now we have this already eroded trail and this trail that's about to erode, because we haven't addressed how the problem is happening, the mechanism of the erosion from people walking on a trail when it's wet. Okay? And so fast forward 10, 15 years, 50 years, however long the time period is, and we are now having to close that second trail. And let's open a third trail. But the first trail is still there because erosion is a self-reinforcing mechanic. Once erosion starts and into a gully system, that trail is now a stream bed. Now, it may not be a continuous stream year-round, but every time it rains, that gully is trapping water, and the water is flowing and moving more of the trail off of the trail. Okay? So now we have 3 trails. And the second one that we opened up to fix the problem of the first one didn't fix anything, and that one's now eroded too, so we're opening up our third one 50 years down the road. Now we got 3 trails contributing sediment down to the beautiful streams and ponds and sedimenting them in or blowing them out, doing stream scour, that is physically, literally sanding and filling in the benthic macroinvertebrate, like the mayfly larva habitat for everything on the food web that depends on those. Okay? So, answering this question of if I want to modify the use on a trail because it's eroding and people are getting hurt, we don't want to just pick off of this tree like, well, I haven't told Park yet I'd use a dispersal strategy, so let me just go with that. Right? We got to reason what is appropriate, effective, affordable, and sustainable for that particular resource and that particular use being imposed on that resource. Okay. Maybe the answer is, for that trail, let's rock it up. Let's cover it in mixed fines, crushed limestone, and stabilize that soil by physically adding rock to it. The trail is now physically heavier, and rainwater won't pick up and move those soil particles and dump them somewhere we don't want them because it's now rock. If that doesn't work,